and student athletes in Dante and Quincy Guerrier. Coach, we'll give you the opportunity for a few quick remarks, and then we'll go to questions.
Well, our preseason practice has been a little disrupted by injuries. We've had a little hard time getting everybody on the floor and playing 5-on-5. We haven't had enough guys to do that. So we're moving along slower than I anticipated, but I do like the guys. I think eventually we'll get most of the guys back on. I'm a little worried about 2 injuries that we have that we may not get a couple guys back for a while, but I think the rest of the guys we can get back and get to work.
Okay, we'll go to Ryan here in the front left.
Dana, what was the most frustrating part about the way last season finished, and how did that influence the way you approached the offseason and kind of turning the page?
Well, we were disappointed. We won 20 games, and we should have won more. You know, we, for whatever reason, team chemistry, you know, it boiled down to we didn't rebound well enough and we didn't defend well enough. If you look at the stats, our offense was okay, but defensively and on the boards, we weren't good enough. And we should have been. You know, we had the guys to do that. So for whatever reason, we didn't get it done. So, you know, at the end of the year, I think all coaching staffs evaluate what you did right, what you did wrong. And, you know, we all looked at ourselves and said we've got to do better. So fortunately, I've got, you know, 3 starters back, and they're good guys that want to compete at a high level. And if those 3 guys stay healthy, you know, we've got good experience. You know, Quincy was with us a year, and before that he was at Syracuse. You know, Dante's been through some injuries, but he's been with us for 2.5 years. Will's been around for 4 years. So that gives us a great core, and experience is so important in college basketball right now because of the COVID year. A lot of guys staying around. A lot of teams are really old, and to compete, you know, I think you got to have that experience. And big difference between a 18-year-old freshman and a 23-year-old fifth-year guy. So anyway, I think we've got some experience. We got a really talented freshman. So, you know, it's just a matter of getting healthy, staying healthy, and defending and rebounding a lot better than we did a year ago.
We're going to follow up with Ryan.
Kind of the same question for the players. What was the thing that you finished last season thinking the most about and wanting to focus on, or just maybe shake off and forget about?
I think it was our physicality. We didn't communicate enough defensively, like Coach said. We got our rebound a lot, and that's the thing that we addressed this year at the very first day of practice. And, you know, we're working hard, and we just want to have a good year, and I think we're on the same page. Our chemistry is way better than last year, and that's going to play a big role in our success this year. So we're competing.
Okay, we're going to go to Matt, and then we'll come to Michelle.
Dana, a couple times you've mentioned in Fale having a healthy offseason for the first time. Just can you maybe give us an example of where he's improved, where you're seeing this improvement and him taking advantage of that first true offseason for him?
Well, he's pretty proud of the way he looks, and but no, you know, the COVID, you know, didn't allow us, you know, to spend any summers with him. Any time a 6'11", 250-pound man battles back from an ACL, it takes time. That's not an easy injury to come back from, and you know, so that messed up his sophomore year and a lot of last year. He didn't get to practice with us, and then when he did start coming back, we were into the season. He was on a minute restriction, wearing a big old brace, you know, so it just took a while for him to get comfortable, and his conditioning never got to the point where I felt comfortable playing him a lot because of the knee and, you know, just fear of injury. So he averaged 18, 19 minutes a game, and I think we need to get him on the floor a lot more than that. He needs to get in great shape, but he shot 67, 68% from the field. He led the league in scoring or percentage, and we got to get him the ball more. He's got to play more minutes. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. But I think conditioning is a big part of that. And I was joking about how he looks, but he's just in much better shape than he's had an opportunity because of injury. You can't get in great shape when you have a bad knee, because you can't get out there and run enough, and you can do as much underwater treadmill running as you want, but it's just not the same as the starts and the stops, on a basketball floor.
Yeah, we're going to go to Michelle in the front right, and then we'll go to over here on the left.
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Republic. Coach, I'm interested in your take on the move of UCLA and USC out of this conference as a coach that's been in it and played a lot of competitive games against those teams. What is your take on their departure?
Well, I'm disappointed. I like the Pac-12. I think we're a unique conference. Out here on the West Coast, and you got 4 road trips. You don't travel. I like the road trips. You go out and you play 2 on the road, and LA's a big recruiting area for us. So there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's not good for our league, but we'll survive. We've got 10 good teams, and it's our challenge to improve, to get better. But as far as a basketball conference is concerned, since I've been in the league, USC hasn't won the conference title or the tournament. UCLA maybe won 1 tournament, 1 league title. Arizona's been up there. We've won 4 conference titles. So our basketball league's going to survive. We've got good coaches, good programs. We'll find our way. But it is disappointing because, LA's important to us. And UCLA and USC, I like Mick, I like Andy. So personally, it's not any good. But it is what it is, and we just got to fight through it.
We come here on the left.
Yeah, Shane Hoffman, I-5 Corridor. This is for all of you guys, but you guys were very guard-centric last year, and sometimes that worked and other times it didn't. And I realize it takes some time to kind of feel out a new team, but from your guys' perspective, this early in the year, injuries withstanding, what do you guys see as kind of maybe the emphasis on offense and the kind of identity there so far?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm not as concerned offensively as I am defensively and on the boards. We've had 5 Sweet 16 teams in our 12 years. Those are our 5 best defensive teams, according to Ken Palm. And they were, our rim protection, our depth on those 5 teams, we were better defensively on those teams. And so, and I'm not very smart, but I look at those stats and go, okay, those are our 5 best teams, and last year our defensive rating was poor, and it was the worst rebounding team we've had in our 12 years, and including my first team, which had some limitations. So, disappointed in that. I think we control some of our defensive intensity. We control some of our ability to rebound, even though we played small most of the year, and the one big guy that we had was only able to play 18, 19 minutes a game. You can always make excuses for not rebounding, but, if you're smaller, you should be quicker to the ball. And so we got to be more physical. We've got to do a better job on the defensive end and on the boards. That being said, offensively, we've got to get the ball into Dante. 67, 68% is off the charts. Quincy shot 60% from 2 last year. We got to get him around the rim more. And, we have 2 other guys that are 6'11", 7 foot, so instead of looking good in the airport, they need to look good on the court, and we need to get on the boards. We need to defend the rim. And, Nate's really had a good spring and summer. Now he's been out the last few weeks, but I think he's going to start coming back now. And then Khalil is a talented freshman that, has tremendous upside, but we need to move him along a little quicker. You know, he's not showing us everything he can do. You know, he's got to turn it up a notch or two. But there's no doubt the talent's there. You know, he's 7 foot long, and when he decides to really kick it in, he's going to be a problem for a lot of people. I just hope it happens this year. So
A quick follow-up then for all you guys. Like, do you feel like the guards on this team are better suited to get the ball down low this year then in terms of the way they're playing?
yeah, no, again, I think the only reason we didn't get it into Dante that much is because the minutes that he played. You know, I think he averaged 18, 19 minutes a game. You know, that was the biggest thing. I think 8 or 9 points a game. If we can get him up to 25 to 30 minutes a game, you know, it increases his opportunity, you know, to get the ball more. And again, looking at those stats, the 19 minutes he was on the floor, our defensive average was pretty good. Our rebounding average was pretty good. The 21, 22 minutes he wasn't on the floor, our defensive average suffered, and so did our rebounding average. So it showed the importance of having him on the floor a year ago. And then I expect Quincy to turn it up a notch and really help him on the boards, which he's very capable of. And those 2 other big guys that we have, but all our guards got to rebound. And our best rebounding teams have always, because all 5 guys knew it was their responsibility to rebound. And so Will's got to stick his nose in there, and all our guards, you know, we've got to have a team rebounding atmosphere, and we didn't have that a year ago. Our guards didn't rebound well enough, and when Dante was off the floor, we just didn't go get the ball.
We're going to go to Pat on the right.
Pat Rooney, Boulder Daily Camera. Dana, I wanted to ask about Keyshawn Bartholomew. Maybe a 2-part question, I guess. How has getting him acclimated to your program gone, and how do you see him fitting in on the floor this season?
Well, Keyshawn wins the award because he is the only guy that's been at all 18 practices. And so he is. He's the only guy that's been at all the practices. So he's durable. He's been easy to work with. You know, he knows Quincy really well because they're both from Montreal, which I think has made his adjustment to Oregon a little easier. He's going to play a lot of ball for us, you know, and we're going to have to move him around some. When Will's off the floor, he'll have the ball in his hands a lot. If we can get Will on a roll shooting the ball. You know, when Peyton was making shots for Will shot it. I think he led the league in 3-point percentage. So we got to have somebody making some shots for him, and I think Keyshawn can do that for us. He needs to pick up his defense a little bit, but I think he's working at that. So, you know, Tad did a great job with him. You know, I mean, you know, that's the thing about the transfer portal. You know, you work with the guy and you know, work through a couple years and think they're getting better, and they take off. You know, they took off on us, they take off on Tad, they take off on all of us. But Tad's a hell of a coach, and Keyshawn's going to be a good player for us, and he's going to play a lot of different roles for us.
We're going to go to Matt on the left.
You touched on Ware a little bit, but just how impactful is going up against Dante for him and his development? And then before Nate got hurt at Canada, you said he was playing really well. Could you maybe just touch what he's improved on as well from his freshman year?
Well, first of all, with Nate, his work ethic, you know, and that's everybody adjusts differently to college. Okay, I mean, there's no set pattern. You know, some guys come in and, you know, they're ready to make the adjustment right away. Other guys, it takes a little longer. And sometimes with bigger guys, it does take longer because of the physicality of the game. And so Nate, you know, just struggled a little bit making the adjustment last year. And, man, he, as soon as the season was over, though, it was like something clicked. And he was in the gym all the time and extra time. And so I was really pleased with his spring and summer. Then, you know, his foot started bothering him, so he's been out for a while. But he'll be back. And there's just a much more awareness, maturity level, whatever you want to call it, that he's ready to give us. And so I think it'll be a slow progress, but I think he'll give us a lot. And as the season develops, I think he'll give us a lot. Khalil, you know, he just has to make that same adjustment. You know, and as I mentioned, everyone's different on how quickly they adjust to to Division I basketball, and we're trying to play at a high level. So, you know, playing against Dante every day is not the easiest thing. You know, Dante's got 20, 30 pounds on him, and he's a couple years older. He's got a lot more experience. And Dante's focused. You know, he's been getting to the gym early every day. He's been staying late every day. And, you know, I hope Khalil recognizes that and starts following him around a little bit more, you know. So, but, you know, there's no secret to being great. And one of the first things is being there early and staying late. And Dante's watched some other guys do that, Peyton, Pritchard, Eugene, Chris Duarte. So they have a path to follow, and these guys are trying to follow that path.
Go to Coach Carlesimo in the back.
PJ Carlesimo, Pac-12 Network. And Fale and Quincy, you guys writing down what Coach is saying about getting you more shots and more time. Make sure you get that and show him that during the middle of the year. Don't let him just say that stuff here. Dan, you kind of, there's a pattern. 2 or 3 of the coaches had the summer trips, and everybody kind of came back bragging on how beneficial they are. You want to talk just a little bit about how important, in general, those trips are, and specifically yours this summer?
Well, they can be. You know, it depends on the team, and I think these guys felt like, you know, we got some chemistry. You know, we had some guys. You know, Dante didn't go on the trip, and, you know, we had a couple guys that didn't play, you know, so that kind of hurt us. But for the guys who did play, you know, I thought, you know, it was a good trip. And so, you know, we're hoping that we can capitalize on that a little bit this year. And what I thought was going to help us is kind of been hindered by the fact that we're not practicing right now. You know, those 10 extra practices that we got, you know, as a coach, I know some guys think it's just practice, but I think it's pretty important, you know. So when you get those 10 extra ones, and now we're kind of missing some of that benefit that we would have got from the 10 extra ones, because we're missing so much practice time now. But no, the trip was good. I enjoyed it. I think the players did. You know, Keyshawn and Quincy and Ethan Butler, another Canadian that we have on the team, their families were there, got to go to a lot of games. You know, Dylan Brooks, Boucher, Eugene, Khalees, and DeVoe, Olu, a bunch of our Canadian guys came and watched us play and then spoke with the team and about their experience and what the University of Oregon meant to them and playing on our team. So, you know, those things, I hope, made an impression. I got emotional listening to them. You know, those guys, you know, meant a lot to our program. You know, Canada's been great to us. And, you know, DeVoe and Olu to get it started, and Jason Khalees, and then Brooks, you know, Boucher, Dylan Ennis. Those guys been unbelievable.
I'm going to go to Myron on the right.
Dan, you've been doing this for a long time. How do you decide whether to devote your energy to the older players in the transfer portal or the young guys coming up in high school?
Well, it's not an exact science, you know, and right now you're trying to balance out, you know, having enough experience on the team to compete at a national level, but still getting those freshmen, you know. We've got some commitments, you know, that we hope sign here in the next couple weeks that really give us a great freshman class. And then it's just a matter of how many guys stay, how many guys go, you know, to figure out in the spring, you know, how to balance that out. But if we get the freshman class that we want, our freshmen are going to play a lot bigger role next year because of the talent we think we're bringing in. But as I mentioned, because of COVID, a lot of teams are old. And a lot of players are taking advantage of that extra year to develop before they make their run at the NBA. And with NIL, you know, some of them can afford to do that because a lot of the guys economically couldn't afford to stay in college, you know, because the family background, their economic background, they had to go try to make a living. But now with NIL, that some of them can stay, which I think we've seen this year in college basketball, which I think is great for college ball, and it's great for development. And some guys finish their degree. Other guys go to work on master's degree. And as we tell these guys all the time, 35, 65, that 30 years is a long time. Go ahead and get your degree. Go ahead and work on a master's degree because, ball's going to be done. And there's still a lot of life to live. And so let's go ahead and knock that out. But to answer your question, I think it's a balancing act that none of us have perfected yet. And it's going to be different here when the COVID years get done. And then we start worrying about balancing those teams even more with freshmen, I think. But like I said, if things work out like I hope they will here, with the guys that we got committed, they're talented enough to come in and play, and then you just got to balance that team.
We don't have a lot of time left, so we'll go to Eldridge and then we'll come to Matt.
I got a question for Coach, but I got a question for N'Faly first. N'Faly, I had your game when you got injured. I remember it not looking like much of a play, and then the next thing I know, you're out for the season. And then I had some of your games last year when you came back wearing a big brace. I just wanted to ask how you feeling physically and how you feeling confidence-wise coming into this season.
Oh, I feel great. First of all, I feel really good, and I just want to thank the Oregon to make this thing possible, Going through injury is not something that's really easy, but they make me feel like, like they're going to be behind me or like in every step, And then I feel great. My knee feel great, and then I had the best surgery, and then I had the confidence to come back. I can't wait. Going to be a good season for sure.
Gotcha. I hope you can stay healthy, man. And Quincy, I hear Coach saying he wants to get you some more shots in the paint. You seem to me, I attended quite a few of you guys' practices when I have your game, but you seem to be the prototypical type stretch four. You really like to shoot the three, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But have you been working more on your low post game? Because whenever I attend your practice, you look like you're shooting threes most of the time.
Yeah, I had that conversation already with Coach. I will have to go crash the board this year and get some easy buckets inside. I had that in my game already. My first 2 years in Syracuse, most of the time I was down in the paint, so I just have to, balance the 3-point and then scoring inside and just recognize the situation and not just settle for three. So I'm excited for this year, and of course I've been working on my post game and all that. So.
Okay, cool. And Coach, for you, the Legacy Series is a big deal for the Pac-12. You kick it off with Florida A&M coming to your place, but you always have hosted schools from the HBCUs. How much are you looking forward to going down to Florida A&M next year and taking your team and playing down there for that experience?
Well, first of all, Robert McCullum, the coach at Florida A&M, we worked together for 3 years at Oregon. He's an outstanding coach, an outstanding man, and so I was really glad that we got Florida A&M, just because of how I feel about Robert and how much he helped our program for the 3 years he was with us. I've been on their campus. They got a great facility. Robert loves coaching there, and so it's going to be great for our players. We've got some activities going on when they come in, and Robert and I have talked about a few things. So, it's going to be good for both programs. We have a tournament in Florida next year, so we tied it into that trip. I think he's playing Portland and Oregon State when he's up, so he got 3 games out of the trip. It's quite a way to Tallahassee. So, we tried to tie some more ball games into it, but just the opportunity with Robert, I hope he knows how much I respect him and how much he meant to our program for the 3 years he was with us.